All right, guys, let's work through these annual yield problems. So if you watched the last video or you understood what we did on the first sheet, that was sort of getting us to see what the annual yield is. But now that we know what it is, we have this nice, simple, easy formula that uses the periodic interest rate and how many payments per year, how many periods per year there are. Notice in this formula, there's no P, there's no principal. It doesn't matter how much we start with. What we're looking for is what percent of what we start with do we end up with as interest. So we just leave out the principal. It doesn't change what percentage we're going to earn as we do this. So here's our formula. The annual yield is equal to 1 plus the periodic interest rate, all of that to the nth power, and then we just subtract away the principal, the 1. We're obviously going to keep that 100% of what we invest, but how much interest do we get? So we use this formula right here. Okay, here we go. So we're saving money. Our account pays 2.9% annual interest. That's our R, which we don't use in our formula, but we need. And it's compounded daily, so we're going to have 365 interest calculations in the year. What's the annual yield? All right, so our R, I've sort of set it up for you, this first one. Our R is 0.0295. Remember, always take that rate as a percent and put it as a decimal. Periods per year, we said they're going to calculate the interest every day, so 365. So our I, our periodic interest rate, is the annual rate, 0.0295, divided by 365. So every day they're going to give us a tiny, tiny bit of interest. The time is set. It's 1 year. That's the whole point of an annual yield, just for 1 year. So 365 is the total number of interest payments that they're going to make. And notice when we come to our formula, this denominator and this number are always going to be the same. Okay, so our annual yield is 1 plus the interest rate to the nth power minus 1. So it's 1 plus 0.0295 all over 365. All to the nth power, they give us 365 different interest payments. These numbers should match, minus the 1. And so when you calculate that, put it into your calculator, get the answer, and you get 0.0299. And so that's perfect answer. If you want to put it as a percent, it's 2.99%. So again, they advertise, or they say, that the annual interest rate is 2.95, which is true, but because it's compounded daily, we actually yield 2.99% of whatever we invest. Okay. Second one, exact same setup. So now we need to work through these steps, but our interest rate is 5.5%, and it's compounded weekly. So we've got to know there's not 4, there's 52 weeks in a year. So that's going to be how many different periods of interest they give us. All right, annual yield. So we need our interest rate for the year, 0.055. We need periods per year, and that is, we just said 52 because they give us interest every week. So our interest rate, periodic rate, weekly interest rate is 0.055 divided by 52. The time, of course, is 1 year because we are only doing this annual. We want to know the annual yield. And so our N is 1 times 52, 52 payments of interest that they give us. Tiny, tiny payments of interest. All right, here we go. Our annual yield is 1 plus the interest rate to the nth power minus the 1. So it's 1 plus 0.055 divided by 52 to the 52nd power, should match, minus 1. And when you do that, plug that in, the announced, or the annual interest rate, is 5.5%, but when we calculate it, the annual yield, we get 0.0565, which is 5.65%. Okay, and so this is, if we put a certain amount of money in, we don't just multiply it by this, we actually multiply it by that. That's how much percentage of our principal that we will have in interest at the end of the year. And then one more, we could actually do this last problem 2 different ways. It says if you invest $1,000 in this CD, the one we just worked, how much will you have in your account 1 year later? So if you want to just trust this annual yield, which you can, it's just $1,000 times the annual yield, 0.0565. And you can do that and you'll get, as interest, you'll get $56.50. And so then you should add that to the 1,000. So you'll have 1056.50. This is rounded slightly because we had to round this off. So if you want to do it properly, we can do it back to our normal compound interest formula. And I'll just do that real quick. It's not going to change the answer much, but I know some people want to do it the right way. So our principal is 1,000. Our annual rate was 0.055. Periods per year, there were 52. So our interest rate, we already did this, 0.055 over 52. And we're doing it for 1 year. This is an I, it doesn't really look like one. All right, so our future value formula for compound interest is the principal, let me erase that. The principal times 1 plus I, interest rate per period, to the nth power. So we invest 1,000, 1 plus 0.055 over 52 to 52nd power, because it's only 1 year of weeks. And when you do that, you get 1056.51. We round it up. So if you do it this way, you'll see that's the right answer. If you use our annual yield, because we rounded this slightly, it's off by a penny, fine either way.